there's also in law merchantability, that if you buy a set of steak knives, the idea steak knives can last you 10 years.
Right.
So your part of merchantability in the law is that the steak knives, unless otherwise stated, should last 10 years or whatever steak knives last. So, but $9.99 for some steak knives, who's going to, 2 years later when they fall apart, who's going to bother to send them back?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so and we're just talking about who makes the money, how that makes the money, but there's all these skills. There's the production, and then there's supply. So how often does it happen that you start creating demand because 1 in 10, you're happy to be the 1 in 10 infomercial that's working, and then there's a problem with supply?
Well, and that happens a lot. That's why they say allow 6 to 8 weeks for delivery. Because sometimes what they'll do is they'll take the orders, and then they'll call China and say, make the product.
Okay, now we know how many we need, make that many.
Yes.
So sometimes the infomercials are actually getting the
demand.
Getting the orders before they place, getting the orders from the customers here in the United States before they place the orders with the supplier overseas. Now, where have you heard that before? Okay, it's one of the points I make all the time. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of times they'll throw out. I mean, it's not unheard of that they haven't actually made the product past prototype.
Okay. Well, okay. So this gets into this other question about testing. Now, mail order catalogs will run a little ad, a little place on their product in a mail order catalog to test out and see what the reaction is. And they have different catalogs. They print different versions of different catalogs, different prices. So mail order catalogs do this all the time. In like the back of New Yorker magazine, there'll be little ads that are getting all sorts of testing. I would highly recommend the book by David Ogilvy called Ogilvy on Advertising.
Oh, great book.
Great book, yeah. And he explains about testing and keying ads so that you know exactly what the reaction is to it. So this is done in your business as well.
Well, one of the great things about infomercials, I have to say, is it's metered advertising versus when you advertise on regular television, Coke ad and everything. Well, a lot of times, that's branded advertisement, which we also do on infomercials, but it's not metered. You have no idea. You're spending $1 million plus on that airtime. You have no idea if it's promoting your product or not, if it's creating a sale. But you know exactly what your product is, how your product is being influenced by your that exact time slot, that exact market, and that exact demographic. Because what you've done is in every different market that you are showing your commercial, your infomercial, you have a different 800 number. So
so you get to know exactly who's what ad where when is pulling what sales.
Right. So for instance, if you have a arthritis cream, you are going to air it in Phoenix. You're going to air it in different cities in Florida. You're going to,
Omaha, places where the elders stay put,
absolutely.
or they aggregate. Okay.
Right. And you're going to do it earlier evening.
6 o'clock as opposed to 10 o'clock.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
So, and then you're going to see, okay, well, you know what, that it did really well, and you're gonna, if you do it, in Los Angeles at 3 p.m., no one's gonna buy it, and you're thinking, okay, well, that was dumb.
Okay, you wasted your time.
Or didn't work. Yeah, exactly. So so it's metered. So okay, well, this we found, and surprisingly, oh wow, we found a market here which we didn't expect.
Yeah.
And it's there are a lot of sports injuries in Texas at 5 p.m.
Okay. And so that's where we can get sales there.
Right.
Okay.
And so when you advertise something for a certain price point and it doesn't work at that price point, what you do is you change the price point, because sometimes people will say, "Wow, that's just too high," or which is also common, if the price point is too low, people will think it's a piece of junk.
Do you have examples of that?
I worked on a great product. It's a product that I still have in my home 6 years later, and I love it. It's an oven it's just a fantastic product.
Uh-huh.
And this was done. Actually, I redid the infomercial. The first person that did the infomercial, they made it way too slick, and it didn't sell at all. And then so I redid it, and it started selling like crazy. It was in the top 100 for well over a year. And I kept on asking the company when sales started to wane, I had asked the company to raise the price point.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought $99 made it look too cheap.
$99 is too low.
Too low.
Perceived value issues here.
I thought it was too low.
Okay.
And when the sales started to wane, there were a number of different things we could do, but I thought we should add something to the package and
Jack up the price.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, next thing I know, and there was I wanted the price point originally to be $139.
Uh-huh.
$139 or $149. So a year or so later, another competitor similar to this oven comes out on the market. Comes out in the rollout, which is after testing, you roll it out at $139. Does gangbusters.
So you kind of your product at your price point, the price point you were advocating, the thing started selling like crazy.
Like crazy. Okay. So I was at a conference, an industry conference, and it just as a coincidence, I was just talking to somebody outside one of the convention halls, and it happened to be the producer of the competitor. And
the competitor oven.
Oven, yes.
Okay.
And so he and I started talking, and I said, oh, I did this one. He said, oh, I did this one. And he said, why did you guys go so cheap? And I said, I couldn't talk them into going higher. And he said, yeah, we tested at that price point, and we didn't do anything. But we found, $149, we didn't do as well as $139. And I said, I couldn't get them to test.
So the problem there is you got the person behind the product, this oven, that says, no, $99 a price, that's the way it's going to be,
yeah.
That's the right price. And so then one person, substitutes his opinion for the hundreds of thousands of people out there who would pay whatever they would pay. If you were just to take the time to test it and find out what they're willing to pay, you would find that out, and you could proceed on that basis and do well. So testing, as Ogilvy says and others say, that's very important. But to my mind, what's very interesting is that common problem where you get these business people that say, oh, I know what's going on, so my opinion is the only opinion that matters. No, the only opinion that matters in business is your customers' opinions. So you go out there and you test what your customers are saying, and then on that basis you go through. Okay, well that's an interesting example.
Well, and actually, and to that point, my training, I started when I was 15, was Nordstrom. And Nordstrom's policy is the customer's always right. And it's just as a kid, even, my 3 years I worked there, and I was a manager there, and it's the customer's always right. And I have to say that policy, it has been probably the smartest advice I've ever heard. And
just listen, they'll tell you.
Yeah, and the marketplace tells you what you're going to sell and what you're not going to sell. You can't trick your customers because of, actually marketing's a big trick, but eventually the market will tell you what it's doing or what you're doing.
Advertising sells hope or aspirations or something, I don't know. Anyway, but the spe in aspiration comes from the word hope. Anyway.
From Spiers.
Well, no, that's one who spies. SPES is hope in Latin.
Questa è l'Home